What's up, guys? mcstu here, and today I just want to do a quick update on the news of the situation between DECA and Cryptic Studios and the changes that are going on there. I'm going to link down in the description the Reddit post again from the last video that I did that had the announcement of the CEO of Cryptic agreeing to do a live stream with Ambassador Kale on a 10 forward sometime next month. I think it's currently slated for the 19th. Kale in this week's 10 forward live stream said don't hold them for that to that, but that is the plan. As we get some, it gets closer and we get more confirmation, I'll definitely let you guys know, because that's something that you're going to want to watch, I think, if you have any concerns about kind of where the game is and the way, things are going. I'm not going to recap all of that. I'll also link the last video that I did on this situation down in the description. So if you're kind of new or just kind of catching wind of this, I kind of explained the history of kind of what's happened over the last 2 years. Now, the video thumbnail definitely looks dire, and it is, I guess, in a way for Cryptic Studios, but not for Star Trek Online, the game. So we want to start with making sure, if you clicked on that out of anxiety about the game, the thumbnail is correct in terms of talking about Cryptic Studios. So basically what we've learned from this Reddit thread, there's been quite a bit of questions answered there, and I'm venturing to guess that this Reddit thread is going to probably have more answers and information in it than the live stream will. I mean, that I'm assuming he'll have prepared statements. He's using, a lot of what he's getting from Reddit and things like that. And I'm assuming he'll answer some questions from chat. But this string in Reddit has been going on for, almost a week now. And so they're well thought out responses. It's not on the fly like you would have to do live. And so I think there's probably, there is good, accurate information in there, at least as far as he's concerned, right? So the CEO, Phil Fraser's his name. He's been posting on Reddit, answering people's questions. It all started last week with him trying to kind of tamp down concerns with kind of not just the state of the game. I mean, that's kind of underlying. And again, I covered this in last week's video, but the lack of communication and all the departures and things that we're seeing. On the flip side of that, we're seeing a lot of hiring at DECA for positions that are specifically for Star Trek, people that are talented, that have experience on, in Star Trek games and those kinds of things. So I think that is a positive sign. And, Cryptic Studios is also cross-training DECA's current team and new members that are coming in this transition. There was a post that replied to a lengthy comment that really kind of solidified kind of what I was already kind of thinking, but there hadn't been any kind of official statement. And that's really what I wanted to focus on this particular video, just to kind of bring to your guys' attention. So, because I think this kind of makes the whole thing clear. And the rest of all the little things that we see and are trying to piece together, this is kind of the nut of it, right? So I'm just going to read this part of this post, and then we'll just kind of talk about it for a moment. So this is buried in a reply within the original post. And again, I'll link this down there in the description. But essentially what he's saying here is one thing to keep in mind with his prior response, and I think he's referring to the original post where he's reassuring us about the game and those kinds of things. The future of Star Trek Online, Neverwinter, and Champions Online, and the future of Cryptic are two separate things. Okay. And so in his original post at the top, he's basically reassuring us that development is continuing. There's already, new content that's been worked on. There is plans, with DECA to continue, the current storyline even past what has already been developed. One of the guys that left, Al, he was there for a long time. He left detailed instructions about, not instructions, but I guess that's for lack of a better term, but just the story narrative that he had already developed and all the information that needed to go with that. And Phil says that they're going to carry on with that, and there'll be continued development after the fact. And so what he's clarifying here is that Star Trek Online and these other three games have development in their future going forward at a similar pace to what we've seen, which, I mean, to be honest, isn't a lot, right? But I think what most of us are looking for that play this game and enjoy it is that this is going to continue to be around and at least be what it was, right? And so from what he had stated in the original post, that was going to be the case. And in this comment here, he's clarifying that the games and Cryptic Studios, their futures are two completely separate things. And what this confirms for me is that Cryptic is going away. DECA is hiring devs, community managers, all those kinds of things for these games, and they're going to fall under them. Now, unlike Gearbox, DECA is not just a publisher, but they're also a developer. And again, we're seeing them hire for specific positions that pertain to MMOs and specifically Star Trek kinds of content. So I'm looking at this, and I think that this is confirming for us kind of what I was already kind of thinking, because it was kind of getting weird where we were seeing the departures and we're seeing that DECA's hiring these people, but there's no kind of clarification on kind of what was happening. So, what is happening is essentially DECA is absorbing Cryptic Studios based on these responses. Now, he's the CEO of Cryptic Studios. Maybe there's some things he's not clear on or whatever, but I think being that he's the lead guy at that developer, he's probably got a pretty good insight into what's going on. He talks more about in some of this the cost of hiring devs stateside, or basically keeping current devs from Cryptic Studios, is just cost prohibitive compared to what you can hire devs and things like that from other places in the world. So again, kind of all over the place here. I kind of squirrel a bit, but I'm trying to give a little bit of context kind of around this specific comment, because I think that out of all the stuff that I've read through this whole string, this is the most impactful and profound. Okay, it means what some people have hoped for a long time, some people hope never would happen. My take on this is that I think it could be positive. I think that a good shakeup with new people could potentially be a positive thing for the game. And I'm not pooping on the people that were there, but let's face it, we've had problems since I've played the game, with server lag, things going into the game that don't work, a very bad monetization system. And I'm not sitting here saying, well, DECA's just going to change all that. I mean, most of what they do is mobile games, right? So, I mean, from a monetization standpoint, doubt it. But I mean, there's things that they could do that without majorly changing it that would make it a lot more fair. And one example is drop rates for lockboxes. I don't open lockboxes. There's no official drop rate for ships that they give out. And I'll just give you an example. In a game like World of Warships, love it or hate it, they'll do basically lockboxes, and they'll say right on there'll be multiple ships you potentially can get, but there's like this one ship that's the main good ship that everybody wants. And I'm just going to make up numbers just for the example, but they'll say if you open 40 of these boxes, you are guaranteed to get a ship, the ship, right? You could get some of the other ships before, or you could get the ship even prior to that as well. But within 40 boxes, you will get the ship. So once you hit 40, and there's a counter down at the bottom too, where you're opening stuff. World of Tanks is like this as well. As you're opening boxes, that counter is going down, and when you hit that number, you are going to get the tank. Now, for me, I can then look at, let's say in the case of Stowe, if they did something similar to that, I might open lockbox keys, because if they said, if you open 100 lockboxes, and let's say the keys are on sale or whatever, average of $100, which is a lot of money, but this is the main game I play, I'm willing to spend some money on it here and there, okay? Hopefully my wife's not watching. If the ship is good enough and I want it bad enough, I can look at that and say, okay, am I willing to pay $100 for this? Because if I'm going to start up opening boxes, that's my worst case scenario. And I can make a purchasing decision based on that worst case scenario. Right now, that doesn't exist, right? And so if there's a ship that comes out, I'm never going to go after it, because that could cost you up to $300 and you not get the ship. I believe that the average is around 250, but that's testing just that the community's done. That's not official, and that could change at any time because there is no official number with it. So those are the little things that I would hope that DECA would look at. I don't think they're going to upend the game and change the monetization. It's really kind of built in, and I don't just mean in lockboxes, but purchasing ships for the gear and the traits and those kinds of things. It's just the nature of the game. I don't see that changing, but they can make that system a lot fairer to where people like me would potentially consider opening boxes to get a particular ship that comes out if I have the information. I mean, there's nowhere else that I would ever spend money, and I'm just not a gambler, maybe that's why, but I want to know my odds, right? If I don't know my odds, then that's number one, I'm not doing it, but to me it's just crazy, right? So those are the things I hope kind of change a little bit. The other part of it is that all the guys that have been there, and girls, they're good guys. I'm not pooping on them, but it's been the same group, internally promoted, and there has been some people come and go and that kind of thing, but the core of it has been the same for the past, 14 years. And so in my opinion, I don't want to see them lose their job. This isn't a negative thing like me attacking them like, oh, good, they're out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about in terms of the game development, having, new blood in there and taking a fresh look at these things in the way that they, build ships or tackle bugs or their QA process. I mean, if we're being frank, some of that stuff, can't get worse, right? Knock on wood, at times. The current team, I mean, they make beautiful stuff. The things they come up with is good, when it works, but that's a big problem. So again, I don't want to make it all about, I'm not pooping on these guys. I'm just saying that removing the emotional side, of the people that are there for myself and just looking at the game going forward, I think that it's going to be a pretty positive thing as long as they don't screw it up, right? I don't know, if they're going to do a good job or not, but if they're able to transition, and these are large companies. Embracer Group's the largest game, holding company in the world. There is some oversight from them. I got to imagine this has happened lots of times. It's probably going to be somewhat rough during that transition a bit, and I think we're kind of seeing that now. But once they take, full charge of that and get into their, their stride, I hope to see, things different, I guess. Let me put it that way. Maybe don't phrase it better or worse. I mean, better or worse would definitely apply to servers, bugs, things like that. But it wouldn't hurt to just kind of see different direction in terms of the way ships are laid out and, the abilities that we get. Just give us stuff we haven't ever thought about, right? I mean, there's a lot of what we do think about what we would want is all kind of based around somewhat, the things that we already have. And that's all been very, I don't want to say narrow because there's a lot of stuff, but it's through this kind of design functionality and culture that you have at Cryptic Studios. And I think having a new focus could, potentially be good for the game and enjoyable for the game for us that, have played it for a long time to really kind of shake those things up. So the polling that I did on this is about 65% out of about 900 people think that, this is going to end up being a positive thing. I think as long as they do a good job at the transition and the people that they bring on board, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. And the positive side of me says I think this will be a good thing. Worst case scenario, I mean, let's say that apart from the transition not going well and it falling apart or something, they go down design paths that we're just not into, right? But if they do a good job and the community manager does a good job, they'll hear that feedback from us and they'll make corrections. So I got to tell you, I'm one of those people when I make a mistake or when there's a big problem in my life, I always look at it. I try and look at it positive in that I look at where I messed up or what's changing. Maybe it's not even my fault, right? Just something's changing. And I look at everything as an opportunity. It's either an opportunity to learn or it's an opportunity just for the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's kind of how I'm wired. And that's why my take on this is positive, because there's a surprise coming. And I think that it's going to be good for the game, just in terms of the fact that things are going to change. So that's my take on it, guys. Again, I thought that this particular post from Phil was probably the most important thing that we've heard from them that really sets that base context to everything that's going on. So let me know what you guys think about this. Again, the polling was pretty clear, but I'd like to hear more of kind of your thoughts on that. Where do you think they'll take us? I mean, I'm not even going to guess because, who knows? But it is fun to pontificate a little bit about that. So let me know what you guys think. Are you happy to see kind of, a change in leadership and blood and, just the direction of the game? Again, I don't want to overstate it, but I feel bad for the people that work there. They're going to have to find new jobs. They're having to feed their family. But that's kind of separate from really what I'm talking about, right? I mean, that's bad. That sucks. I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, that's the position that Embracer Group found themselves in and had to make those changes. In terms of just the game and as just a game, enthusiast, someone that plays it, I'm pretty excited to see what, the future is going to hold there. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, guys. If you stayed all the way to the end, I appreciate you. Please hit that thumbs up button, hit that sub button. Helps me out a bunch, and you guys are the best. Till next time, have a good one. Hey guys, appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and sub to the channel for the latest news updates and how-to guides.